Hello, and welcome to NC Insights and Innovators, the podcast featuring the voices shaping North Carolina's economic landscape. I'm your host, Yvonne Morrison. And since our podcast features innovators, we have the perfect person with us today to discuss the true spirit of innovation. And that is how university research becomes commercially viable products. Our guest today is Michelle Bolas, who is CEO and president of NC Innovation, a nonprofit that bridges the funding gap between research done at our state's 16 universities and how those products resulting from the research make it to the marketplace. Michelle joined NC Innovation after serving as Chief Innovation Officer at UNC Chapel Hill and Executive Director of Innovate Carolina. Michelle, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Yvonne. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to talk with you about this morning.
We are excited too because there's all kinds of interesting things happening at our universities that people don't know about. So tell us, how did NC Innovation get established and what is your mission?
Sure. So NC Innovation was launched in late 2023 by the General Assembly with a $500 million endowment to do two things. The first is to really inventory and scour our public universities for inventions, innovations that have the potential to solve problems and are commercially viable. So overall, the mission is to create homegrown businesses with technologies invented here in North Carolina at our public universities. We also have the ability to build ecosystem support. So as you know, in a small town like Burlington, the ecosystem for small businesses is so critically important. The resources that they have, the kinds of business mentors and expertise. So NC Innovation can also invest in building ecosystems outside of RTP that are conducive to helping small technology-based businesses grow. So between those two things, we aspire to make North Carolina really known as a state where innovation businesses are established and grow and thrive.
So wasn't NC Innovation one of the first organizations to use state funds to support university research and those products resulting from that?
So we actually are not a first mover in investing in university-based research and the innovation pipeline, but where NC Innovation really distinguishes itself is in that commitment from the General Assembly to establish an ongoing resource for this work, right? So a $500 million endowment with the authorities to invest those proceeds in an ongoing way in all of the technologies that are feeding business sectors in North Carolina, especially in a state where any individual sector doesn't make up more than 19% of our state's GDP. So it's really important for us to do biotech and ag tech and AI and the future of manufacturing. And to do all of that, we need an ongoing resource that is going to signal to the business community that North Carolina is open for innovation. So first mover in some areas and then really catching up to our peers in other areas. But the most important signal is that we're in the innovation game.
So that's why it's important for the state to invest. What other reasons should North Carolinians care about the state investing in university research?
Yeah, I love that question. So the way that I think about the North Carolina public university system, which is really at, I have to say, top 3 finest in the country. We have 17 campuses geographically dispersed across the state and working at a very high level of research expertise. And so the investments that the people of North Carolina have made in this public asset are huge. We should expect to get a lot from those investments, right? And so I view the innovation coming out of our public system as a public good. What we need for that public good to translate into economic benefit for communities in which those universities are anchors and do their work, is we need to take those assets from an proof of concept and invention state and get them closer to a business opportunity. And that's exactly where NC Innovation points our work. We take a really great idea that has some viability and we make it a business-ready, industry adoption-ready business opportunity. That in investment circles is known as the Valley of Death. It's actually one of several along the path to a scaled, valuable business. But this Valley of Death is important because there's very little funding for that period of development. And so NC Innovation is filling that gap on the public side. So the public asset is more valuable and more likely to be commercialized.
And we've heard a lot about the cuts to federal funding for university research. Does that make your work even more urgent? Do you have more demand for funding now?
Yes.
What's going on?
Yes to both. The demand for what NCI is doing has been fantastic out of the gate. So to date, we have reviewed over 350 proposals in just 2.5 years.
Wow.
We have funded nearly $30 million in 38 projects across the state. We're about to announce our next cohort in a couple of weeks. So in 2.5 years, we'll be at around 50 projects, close to $50 million in funding. Imagine if we do that year over year over year going forward, what North Carolina's technology portfolio will look like. So the demand has been great. Where that intersects with the cuts in federal funding is really around this idea of use-based or problem-based research. The federal cuts, unfortunately, have largely been in the areas of basic research, basic science. And what we've seen is actually an uptake in areas around problem or use-based research, research that has an end point that is useful from a public good perspective. And so in a time when the federal cuts have really impacted the research community, we're seeing a lot of researchers say, hey, how can I make my research more applied, more relevant to my community, and how can I point it toward an industry use where it might get picked up?
So who applies? Is it the people at the universities, the professors doing the research? Is that who applies? And what do you look for in their applications that would entice NC Innovation to invest?
Yeah, great question. So it is the PIs, the primary investigators, university researchers. We have an exceptional team of our regional hub directors who live and work in those communities, so they get to know those researchers really well, and they are scouting and inventorying where the technologies are that are aligned with industry market need. And so when we get an application from a researcher, what we're looking for are a couple of things. One, are they oriented toward this work, right? Do they have in mind a problem that their research can solve? Have they thought about what kind of industry partner might be interested in that? Even better if they've already made some outreach in those areas. And are they teachable? Are they willing to think about their research in a different way? Because you may have to pivot that technology to get it right to a place where it's a real business opportunity. And I can give a couple of examples around that. So those primarily are what we're looking for. When we fund a project, we match those researchers right at the beginning of the work. So our funding period is 2 years. We match them with a seasoned entrepreneur in their technology area. So someone who has already started a technology business in that sector. And we bring in industry experts and we bring in regulatory experts. So that forms their team for the period of time that they're with NC Innovation.
So they're really ready.
So they're ready.
Yeah.
They're ready, and they're ready to work with a team that is outside of the university in a different way. And then we run them through a 2-year accelerator program. So by the time we get to the end of their funding period, and we're seeing some of our first projects come into that time, they are very much ready to hit the market. So they either have a startup that's been created in that period, or they are ready to sign an industry contract for first revenue, first customers. We're moving at the speed of industry, not academia, and that's a real differentiator in our work.
That's so exciting. So can you tell us about some of the projects that you have funded?
Yes.
And what's going on with them?
Yeah, so I have a few that, it's kind of like picking your favorite baby. So I love them all. But a few I think that really tell the story. We have a project that we funded in our very first pilot round out of UNC Charlotte. Dr. Jordan Polar is a material scientist, and he has spent many, many years looking at the problem of PFAS in our water, so forever chemicals, right? And there are there's a lot of technology work around this being done all across the country and globally, and so inventions that are looking at industrial scale, but Dr. Polar is really looking at the consumer point of contact, right, for water. And he asked the question, how can we develop a material that would be compatible with existing filters that people have in their homes? So you don't have to go out and do anything different except just buy this new product. So what he's invented is kind of like a sand that is a point of contact filter for existing water filters in people's homes. The PFAS are filtered by this material, and the material itself is recyclable, so it doesn't go into the land waste. And then seep the PFAS into the wastewater or into the groundwater. And so really exciting, but the thing that has made this project so unique is we were able to partner Dr. Polar with a manufacturing partner in Union County to continue to develop his product and run the pilot test line. And that manufacturing partner in Union County has since restructured their manufacturing line to be able to produce this material. And so they have a first right of refusal on manufacturing the product that was created in adjacent Mecklenburg County, and they're ready to roll. Dr. Polar has created a startup company, and they are very, very close to launching the first iteration of this product.
And we're hearing so much about that in the news. What
Exactly.
an incredible opportunity.
Right.
And the foresight of the researcher to see an obvious detrimental problem to people and come up with such an innovative solution.
And a big problem for North Carolina, yes.
Really?
He had early funding from sources like the North Carolina Collaboratory, who helps researchers in very early stages to solve problems that are really pertinent to our state.
So North Carolina is ranked as one of the best states for business. And I was a little surprised to learn that some in our state legislature were not as supportive of an organization like NC Innovation as I expected them to be. What is the current business and political climate surrounding this issue?
Yeah. Well, I would say that actually the support from the General Assembly for NC Innovation's mission has been outstanding across the board. I really have not, outside of a few that I can think of, really encountered resistance to what NCI does. I think the resistance has been around the funding model, and frankly, anytime $500 million of state funds goes to a single organization, you're going to get some scrutiny. So we've spent a lot of time talking about how that funding came from reserves. So it came from the state's bank account, and it's held in reserve. NC Innovation to date has not spent $1 of state funding. We hold that funding in an endowment, and we only spend the annual revenue on those endowment earnings on our programmatic activities. So it's a great conservative model for how North Carolina can get the most out of all of its assets. That said, I think that we still have a ways to go in understanding how much innovation is needed as a third leg of our stool, right? Our economic future stool. Yeah. So the first in business ranking is fantastic for the state for attracting large existing industry partners and large corporations. Mm-hmm. It's based on economic tax climate. It's based on availability of land and talent and infrastructure. What is missing, I think, from that picture is an understanding that historically and today, more than 50% of our country and our state's GDP is in small to medium-sized technology-based businesses. And so we're imbalanced as a state looking ahead to the future if we're only relying on large industry coming to North Carolina. We also need to create our own. So North Carolina is actually ranked 20 to 24th, depending on what source you're looking at, in converting our research into economically viable small to medium-sized businesses.
Really? With all these universities
with
here.
all these universities.
That's
with over
surprise.
Right, exactly. With, so much funding coming to our state, we can do better. Absolutely. I believe we can do better. I know the General Assembly thinks we can do better. And so the critique is really around how to fund that.
So the business climate in general, do you find business leaders jumping at the chance to work with you and the researchers at the universities?
Yes.
So they're eager and open-minded.
At the regional level, we've had incredible uptake from the business community. One of the historic critiques that we've heard in the university system is how hard it is for industry or business partners to find the right research partnerships or collaborations within the universities. So NCI, serving as that interface for the system writ large, has been really welcomed by the business community and by the universities. We've had, I would say, just exceptional uptake to what we're doing from both.
That is fantastic. Are there examples of a problem that existed in a particular industry that a university took on to solve that so it worked backward instead of from the university to the industry, it worked from the industry to the university?
Yes.
Do you have some examples of that?
That's a great question. That's really how it needs to work. And I think one of my favorite examples is here in the Piedmont. So UNC Greensboro has exceptional expertise in nanotechnology, nanoscience, and for a long time has been engaging with industry partners around the question of lithium purification, right? So knowing that Toyota Battery and others in the battery space and the energy transition space are really coming to the Piedmont for its workforce and for its business climate. Also looking at, well, what is the future of this particular industry, and what can we do to help position our university and our region to be competitive in this way? So at UNC Greensboro, Dr. Hamali Rathnayake has invented a solution to lithium purification that uses minimal water, which is a big problem in any purification process, and is faster and much less expensive than the existing purification methods on the market. And importantly, it's domestic. So nearly 100% of lithium purification right now happens in China.
Wow, that's a big one.
We mine in this country, we send that raw material, and then we bring that raw material back for battery production. And that is highly inefficient, very expensive. And as we can see, as the international climate, the global climate is changing so rapidly, the more we are investing in our own domestic capabilities in these areas, it's a national security imperative in addition to a business imperative. And so I really give all the credit to UNC Greensboro, to Chancellor Gilliam, to Dr. Rathnayake, and to the folks at UNCG who are seeing not only in lithium but in rare earth minerals broadly the need to invest in research in these areas. They've recently started an institute to bring together experts from all across the world to advance the science in a very rapid way toward these market needs.
That is so fascinating. So pretty soon we'll be able to do lithium purification right here in North Carolina.
In North Carolina. Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So this has been a great discussion about NC Innovation. What else would you like people to know about your organization and what you do?
Thank you for that question. It's a phenomenal team. I think the piece that we haven't talked about that is so critical for our model is the regional aspect and the economic development opportunities that sit for North Carolina outside of RTP, and the phenomenal resource that our universities are for anchoring expertise in all different areas, but really relevant to those communities. So in the West, ag tech that is relevant to some of the challenges in Western North Carolina, and looking at the future of advanced manufacturing and how we can transform businesses, historic businesses, to digital capabilities and be ready for the next century of manufacturing in this country. In the East, looking at all areas of coastal development, ocean technology, deep tech. In Charlotte, looking at the future of energy transition and fintech. So we have so much raw material that can really lift up regions in our state, and innovation-based technology development and business development is a best practice in rural and regional economic development. And so NC Innovation is very much in that game and really wants to partner with communities across North Carolina to help imagine what's possible for their economic prosperity going forward.
So if they want to contact you, should they visit your website, give you a call?
Visit our website, give me a call, reach out to mbolas@ncinnovation.org.
Michelle, thank you so much. This has been a fascinating discussion, and we hope everybody has learned a lot about what you do and piques their interest to support your organization.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely.
Thank you so much. This is NC Insights and Innovators. If you would like to learn more about our podcast, please visit the website at the bottom of your page. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.